everybody. Welcome back. I am your host, Alyssa Scolari, and this is another episode of the Light After Trauma podcast. Just a few housekeeping things before we get into today's episode. So, number one, I just wanted to thank you all for your support and let you know that the Light After Trauma podcast has been named on Feedspot's top 30 trauma podcasts that you must listen to in 2021. So I am really excited about that. Again, so grateful because none of this would be possible without all of your support. So yeah, that's really exciting. If you want to see the entire post and you want to see all of the other podcasts that got named as the top 30, go check it out. It is on any of my social media links. I will also link it in the show notes for this episode, and it's in the show notes in the previous episode. So again, go to my Instagram, which is Light After Trauma. You can go to my Twitter account. You can go to my website, wherever, and you will find it. And on that note, I also just want to say, in case you haven't done so yet, please be sure to go check out the lightaftertrauma.com, our brand new website, which is designed solely for the Light After Trauma brand. It is really beautiful. I'm really proud of it. David and I worked so hard on it. So there's lots of different things on there, not just the podcast episodes. It's all of the blog posts. It's where you can submit to be on the show. It's where you can write in for the Survived and Thrived Stories part of the podcast, which will be launching on May 14th. Really excited about that. A lot of you have sent in some of your stories and things that you want shared. So I'm excited to start recording and for you all to hear. So yeah, I believe that is a wrap. Oh, and the last thing is I want to ask, there is also a spot on the website for you to support the podcast. Obviously, launching the Light After Trauma brand has taken a lot of time and it's a lot of effort and very expensive to be able to provide quality content every week. So we just ask that you go to lightaftertrauma.com and click on the support button and give what you can to be able to support the podcast, even if it's as much as what you would pay for a cup of coffee at Starbucks. That would be great. Any little bit would really help. So with that being said, today we have Monica Rodgers with us. Monica is the founder of the Revelation Project. She is bringing an infectious warmth and playful levity wherever she goes. I'm so excited for this. Monica is a tireless advocate for the full actualization of women, inspiring women everywhere that saying yes to the mess is the missing link to self-love and personal awakening. Through her podcast and group coaching programs, Monica guides women through their inner revolution from trance to transcendence, revealing the toxic myths of social conditioning and self-doubt in order to illuminate the magic and magnificence of our imperfect selves. She believes that women can take action towards realizing our true potential only when we stop proving and striving to be who everyone wants us to be. Amen. When we reveal the truth of who we are, we return to our original design, and with the practice of self-love and compassion, we become aligned, opening the portal into our divine purpose, where true prosperity dwells. There has never been a more important time for women to reveal the truth of who we are as a catalyst for positive change in the world as the divine feminine returns. Hello, Monica.
Hi, I'm so glad to be with you. How are you?
So glad to be with you. So happy that you're here. I'm not even going to pretend like this is the very first conversation we're having, because to the listeners, we just spent probably 10 minutes. I was geeking out about Monica's podcast, The Revelation Project. The episode that came out today is April 14th with Kelsey Abbott. And I believe it's titled Sparkly AF, which is
Yes.
the best title for it. You need to go listen to this episode because Monica and I were absolutely geeking out over this idea of the human design and the Jovian archive. Please go look it up. If you want to learn about yourself, that's all I can really say is don't knock it until you look it up. And I will probably be up until midnight tonight learning more about myself. So
I know. And I remember in the episode, Kelsey was like, welcome to the rabbit hole, right? Because it's just like, I think people who have like that inquiring mind are like, yes, right? Like, because I love how it mixes just all of these, like the I Ching and the astrology, and just the second you kind of put in your birth date, where you were born, and the time, it spits out kind of what you are. And everybody has a unique profile, but you have it right there at your fingertips. So it's really cool.
yes, yes. So before we started recording, I was on jovianarchive.com looking at my human design chart. I'm a projector. So everybody out there, please go find out what you are. Let me know. I need to know because this is now going to be my next obsession. um, but anyway, so welcome to the podcast. So happy to have you here. Love the work that you do. Love the
Thank you.
podcast. I listened to a couple episodes, and I think a lot of your niche is very, very important. And you are very passionate about one of my favorite topics, which is like the comfort zone
Mhm.
and getting familiar and settled and accepting the mess. So, I guess my first question for you would be, how did you get to be in this field doing the work that you do?
Yeah. Oh gosh, such a great question, because I am a lover of this subject matter because, of course, I was a perfectionist. Like so many women, and I'm still recovering, right? Because of practice, but so many of us women have learned to hold it all together, and sometimes at the expense of our own well being, oftentimes at the expense of our own well being.
Yes.
And in fact, I think we're going through a major shift in the world. I think in a lot of ways, the more we keep holding it together as women, we're not doing ourselves any favors, and we're not doing the world any favors, because when we really get present to what we're holding together, it's an old paradigm, it's an old structure. And if you go deep enough, you'll see that what you're holding together is the patriarchy.
Yes. Yes. Down with the patriarchy is probably
Enough's
one of the
enough.
yes, it's one of the biggest themes of my life, I think. And as a sexual abuse survivor, I can see how the patriarchy has had a major, major effect on my life, my recovery, the fact that the sexual abuse even happened in the first place. So, yeah, I completely understand. And then the idea of perfectionism, which is that is the comfort zone, right? Is having everything all neat and perfect and always striving to be the best of the best. So,
Yeah, the
when you,
irony too. Yeah, I was just going to say the irony to that, right, is that perfectionism, if we were to really kind of get present to what it feels awful. It's like hell on earth, actually. I think it's hysterical that we think hell is somewhere else.
I, uh, yeah, no, that's a powerful statement. And it took me back for a minute because it's entirely accurate. It's entirely
Mhm.
accurate. We're living in it.
We're living in it. But the beauty of allowing it to fall apart is that, we've been taught to avoid the mess. We've been taught, if we were to even look at how we've been trained as women, how we've been socialized as women, we've been taught to avoid the mess at all costs. We literally either run. I don't know about you guys, but I even hire a cleaning lady. I clean the house before I have her come. Like
Oh,
that's
you
the,
clean for the cleaning lady?
oh, you do that? Like who does
Oh,
that?
yeah, no,
Everybody.
so I grew right. Every woman on the planet, not every woman, okay? I will not
We
generalize,
won't
but
generalize, but we'll say we can relate to this.
and that's the environment in which I grew up. I remember being little and being like, "Mom, why the hell are you cleaning for the cleaning lady?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
why? Like in your opinion and from your perspective, why do we do that?
Because we're taught to be ashamed. We're taught to be ashamed. And so I want to bring this closer to home. Okay. Like, because we're carrying shame, first of all, that's not ours to carry. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is that when you look at all of the things we've been taught to be ashamed of, they're all messy things. What do I mean by that? What do I mean? What I mean is that your emotions, you've been taught not to go there. They're not trustworthy. Go to your room until you can act right. Your emotions are messy. Everybody's uncomfortable when I get emotional. And so therefore it's messy, and I have to hide my emotions. I have to suppress my emotions. I have to shove them away. I have to pretend they're not here. Okay. So we don't feel our emotions. What we do is we bottle them up, or we disembody, and able to survive the fact that we're so uncomfortable, because our body has become uninhabitable because it's so uncomfortable and we're not allowed to be there. Right. So we escape up into our heads, or we disembody and go somewhere else. We all know how to do this magic trick.
Yes. That dissociation, the disconnecting from the self.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm sure, being a sexual abuse survivor, that you became an expert at it. And I don't,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I could literally see myself as if I was, when I first started to, I repressed a lot of my memories. And when I first started to have flashbacks of the abuse, I saw it as if I was somebody on the ceiling looking down. Like I was watching it. And that, I think a lot of people can relate to. I know a lot of people can relate to, is dissociation, disconnection. I left my body, and then left my body for many, many, many years after that. And was also taught to, right? If you're, like you said, if you're too emotional, if you can't compose yourself, if you can't be presentable.
Even if you're going to share your trauma, don't do that here. Right? Like, nobody can handle it. Nobody can hold it. Right? So we're taught to isolate. We're taught to disembody. And unfortunately, for some of us, that means a crack or a break in the psyche. It leads to mental illness. Right? So if we were to actually start to understand the origins of mental illness, it's when you're not allowed to feel what you feel or know what you know. That's what the definition of trauma is. Right?
Absolutely.
And so when we think about the other places we've been taught not to go, our intuition, right? Women, we're built to intuit the world. If you looked at our neural network, if you looked at our ability, how many women are gifted, but they're taught to hide it in their sixth senses, right? They just know, right? Like, can get downloads. They can feel something before it happens. They know something's not safe. They can feel the energy in the room, right? And then suddenly you're woo-woo. That's messy, right? Those intuitive gifts are messy. Don't go there, right?
Yes.
So sexuality, same thing. Oh, good girls don't do that. That's dirty. That's shameful, right? That's messy, right?
I could talk for a year on how horrific it is that we shame women for being sexual beings.
Oh God. I mean, but here's the beauty of this is, once we start recognizing all of the places that we've been taught not to go, even our creativity, don't go there. Let's get rid of it in schools. No art programs. That's all, whatever that is. It's messy.
Right,
it's
none
creative.
Of that matters.
It's chaotic. It's right. It doesn't matter. So when we think about where we've been taught not to go, or what's been taken away, or what we've been shamed for, it's because those are our power centers. Those are the portals back to our power. And what else I want to say about the mess is this: everything in life is a paradox, is a polarization. You cannot have the light without the dark. You cannot have the moon without the sun. You cannot have the day without the night, right? Like, we know this, that everything is a gendered pair. Okay. Now, when I say this, I'm not talking about boys and girls. I'm talking, and we know this, about energy. But in order to create something new, those energies need to integrate. That masculine and feminine energy needs to integrate. Same that happens within ourselves. Okay. We need to integrate our feminine and our masculine. We need to understand that our human side is our messy side. But if we don't embrace that humanity, we're never going to embrace our divinity. And the beauty of living in the hell is that heaven is on the other side of that. And if you actually go towards the mess, what you're really moving towards once you kind of cross that chasm is that integration. And that's where freedom lives. That's where the lotus starts to bloom, right? No mud, no lotus. That's where life, right? Like I used to think before, I had my own smackdown by the universe, right? I wasn't getting the memo. I wasn't picking up on
and the universe has its way of being like, oh, you're not going to listen to me? All right.
Yeah.
It's on.
Right. Like you have a contract here actually to wake the hell up. And so we're going to get a little stronger. Right.
And then smack the shit out of you until you
Monica
wake up.
Still didn't wake up. Right. So they were like, they just sent Kali to kind of like do her thing. And boy, did she do a great job. I could give like a performance review on that woman and just be like, wow, 5 stars, Kali. Thank you. She was thorough. She left my children. She left me my children. Thank goddess. I had to lose it all. And so I come out here, as not a prophet of doom, but I say, you can actually start doing this work so that you don't have to have your whole life upended. Right?
Because the comfort zone, I think, is very numbing, right?
It's killing us, actually. The comfort zone is killing us.
Literally killing us.
Yeah.
In the form of like taking mental illness. Is that what you're referring to?
No.
Or taking on mental illness?
No, I think the comfort zone is killing us. It's like killing us quietly, right? Killing us softly. It's this idea of like the Groundhog Day. It's like living every day of your life in that safe comfort zone. I'm always like, okay, let me trade my soul for a paycheck and a 401k plan, right? It's like, what if you could have both? What if you could have a fully invigorated spirit and soul and do something that you love and get paid for it? We've been taught to believe that we have to somehow give up on our dreams in order to be practical, right? Because dreaming is messy too. Desires are messy, right?
Yes, because we are all taught to be, especially, and I was just having this conversation with a patient the other day, like we're all taught to be on a timeline as well, right? You need to go to school, you need to graduate by the time you're 18, and then by the time you're 18, you're supposed to know exactly what you want to do. And you're supposed to be going to a college. You graduate in 4 years. And then you either work your way up the corporate ladder, you go to grad school.
And what about that biological clock? I mean, that's ticking, right?
I mean, right. When are you going to have kids? When are you going to pop babies out?
And then what if you turn 50? I mean, you're over the hill now. Life's over. I mean, you might as well pack it in.
Done.
Right?
Dig your grave.
It's just like, it's so cynical. But yet this is what I call the trance of unworthiness. This is the trance. We're living in a trance that has lulled us to sleep, to our own desires, to our own creativity, to our own sensuality. And what we want to do is really start to activate that. We want to disrupt that. And so how can we disrupt it, right? How can we go from listening to this where we're like, maybe she's, there's something here, like I'm feeling something, right? How do we know, right, when we're dissatisfied? Well, it's really starting to tune back in to what is your body telling you, right? Because our body holds the wisdom. We've also just learned to kind of cut the check engine light, right? And like I was talking about missing the memos, it's because I was so numbed out. And I was so living in the comfort zone. And so what does it look like to get out of the comfort zone? Because what I'm not asking you to do is, like, I don't know, maybe you're listening and you've been in a loveless marriage for 15 years, right? So I'm not going to say like, okay, get a divorce tomorrow. But what I am going to say is, let's start looking for something that you want to do to nurture yourself, to grow. And that you deserve, right, to grow. You have the right to grow. That's literally your human birthright. We're here to grow. We're here to evolve. And so if you've gotten super comfortable, but yet there's an art program going on at the local university and your heart really wants to do it, but you're kind of skited about it, right? Scared and excited, then I say, go there, right?
Excited about it. I love it. That's a great word.
Yeah. Or if like something is, you're an entrepreneur, right? And you've been kind of dead in your work, but there's this women's group and you're going to learn how she's doing a sensuality embodiment workshop or something. And it's actually going to impact your work life. And you're like, yes, no, right? It's that kind of double yes. It's like you're a yes, but then you talk yourself out of it. Go that way. Like start to go that way, because what we want to start finding is our growing edge. What we want to do, I call the edge of the comfort zone is the revelation. That's where we have our insights. That's where revelation starts to visit us. That's where wisdom starts to, like I'm meant to do this. Actually, like my unique brilliance is here. That's why I'm attracted to it. That's why my body knew to go. You start learning about yourself, right? You start seeing where the universe has been leading you, and you've been like numbing out to it. And the universe has been like, the pot of gold's over here. And you're like, nah, I'd rather have, right, the Netflix and the bottle of wine every night.
Yes. That is so much about what I think a common theme for so many people that come to see me in therapy. That is what it is about, is how can we break you out of this cycle that is the comfort zone? Because yes, on the other side can be grief and pain, but joy can't exist without grief and pain, right? One can't exist without the other. And when you finally start living true to yourself and not on the timeline that the world has you on, that's the revelation, right?
Yeah. And that's when the universe really starts to reveal to you, right? We don't have to know. We don't have to, for those of you listening here today, like you don't have to know right now. All you have to know is that this conversation is stirring something inside of you. And then you can say to yourself, okay, more to be revealed. You don't know today, but to allow yourself to feel that desire is what is going to start informing your body to pick up on the cues that are like breadcrumbs to lead you to reveal that next thing and that next thing. What we're daring to do here today is to kind of poke you awake. It's to say like, come on, you've got this. Like your body knows, your body was designed for this kind of intelligence. And we've just learned to cut it off in this society.
Yeah, I think that that's a very important point, that the goal today, if you're listening to this and you feel this on a level, the goal is not to, for example, going off of what you said, perhaps you're in a loveless marriage, right? Like you said, Monica, using that as an example, the goal is not to, don't pull over on the side of the road and turn off your car and call your partner and say, I want a divorce. That's not the goal. The goal is to go, oh, right, I'm feeling something. Let me open my eyes to it, and the universe will show me where I'm meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you help women to do, because you also offer, so in addition to unpacking a lot of this on your podcast, which your podcast has been going on for 2 years now, right? I think I saw.
Almost, just around 19 months. So yeah, almost.
Oh, that's so exciting. But in addition to that, you do one-on-one coaching and groups as well?
So I used to do the one-on-one, and actually I also did women's circles and group coaching. And I've actually put it aside right now to write a book. And what I've been writing about, is
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to getting back to coaching. But part of really what I feel called to do right now is to really write about what the Revelation Project really is. Because for me, Like everybody is doing their own revelation project. And I think so much of what the revelation project is about for us as women is learning to reveal more of the divine feminine in our lives. And that means more of the mess, right? That means learning how to receive. That means allowing yourself to unbecome from all of the ways that you've been taught to be, and to really start to perceive the world as a co-creation, like the universe as a force of wanting to co-create with you. I want to go back to, we've been taught about this idea of like God, okay, as masculine. And you can replace that word God, again, if it makes you uncomfortable, with any word that makes you more comfortable, right? I'm not attached to the words.
Right.
What I'm more interested here is in helping us understand that we've been narrated a story that has omitted the divine feminine. And when you grow up in a society where you've been kind of taught, even if you weren't raised in a religion, but you've been taught over time, like 1,000 tiny paper cuts, right? You've been microdosed this whole story of unworthiness, how somehow you came from the rib of a, right? Again, if you were growing up in a religion, that you came from a rib of a man, right? When we know good and well that women have wombs, right? We don't come from men. That's not how we're born into the world, right? But it's like common sense is not common when it comes to like the Bible and how we interpret it. And so many women are out there living in this trance of unworthiness. And because we don't realize that the impact for young girls growing up without a feminine model, a feminine role model, a strong, fierce, creative, messy, beautiful, magnificent, right? Feminine role model, divine feminine role model. When we don't have that, when we've been given instead a patriarchal view of God, we end up entranced in this place, like we've been stationed in a place, we've been relegated to a place that has taught us, like, you don't belong here. You're not good enough, or you're too much, frankly.
Yes. Too much. Too
Or too
much.
much.
Too
You're too
loud. Too many
much.
opinions. Too emotional. Too sensitive.
Yeah, right. And so it's starting to call bullshit on some of this stuff, and starting to really dare to unpack it, dare to get curious, dare to start to question what you've been taught to believe. Because the truth is, you have a unique gift to bring this world. And it's guaranteed, if you're unhappy, you're not tapped into that yet. Because when you are tapped into it, you are so lit on fire.
Yes.
And every single one of us has the right to bring our unique gift to the world. It's why we came here. I know this sounds crazy. We were not sent here to be an accountant. That might be part of it, right? That might be part of it, but it's not the whole deal.
Yeah.
Right? So what we want is to start awakening women, because we've been sleeping inside this trance. We want to awaken us to the fact that we're powerful beyond measure, right? And that comes with discomfort. It's like, eek, like, who, me? Right? Like, I couldn't, right? It's like, yeah, you could. Yes, you are. Yes. All the things. You're so amazing.
And it's all waiting for you outside of the comfort zone. And I like that you pointed out what I believe, and I think what a lot of people believe, is a gross misrepresentation in the Bible of women being inferior to men. And that is the message that gets passed on, that like we are nothing without men. That's simply not true. That's a gross misrepresentation that has done harm to women for thousands of years.
Yeah. And we love men, like we need men, right? But we
need men. This is not about bashing men. This is about saying women are not inferior, and women, there is no box that women need to fit into and the goal is to step out of this box.
Yeah. And that our value isn't tied to whether or not we're married or a mother, or that our value, that we have our own inherent value just as we are, without needing to attach our values somehow to our egoic title, right? Like we oftentimes will kind of invest in the identity of I'm a married woman or I'm a mother, right? And that becomes our whole world. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be part of your world. Absolutely. But you also have your own evolution as a human being, and something that's wanting to call you forward and call you get to learn this about yourself. Like, what is that gift that you are holding inside of you that you are here to bring the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think, again, we tend to sacrifice as women, like we lift our families up, right, at the expense of ourselves. And I'm not saying don't lift them up, but I'm also saying lift yourself up too. Give yourself an opportunity. Nurture yourself just as much.
Yes. And the best thing you can do is nurture yourself. That's the best thing you can do for others as well, is to take care of yourself first. So
Totally.
I love that. I love everything that you are about. I appreciate your podcast. Again, for the listeners out there, it is called The Revelation Project. It is a very, very feel-good, fascinating, informative, and inspirational podcast. So go and check that out. And then you have a book that will be coming out. So I will be looking forward to reading that. And yeah, thank you for coming on today and for sharing, because this comfort zone, I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and not in the sense I put myself in danger, but my adrenaline rush is stepping outside of the comfort zone.
I love it. I love it. Now I'm just like,
the best.
Oh my God, that terrifies me. I can't wait. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Just to give you an example, right? A couple of years ago, I ended up doing a program where a woman was offering Rockstar Camp for entrepreneurs. I had never sung on stage in my life. And of course, it wasn't about the song. It was about learning how to claim the stage and use my true voice and daring to shine, daring to be in the spotlight, right? It terrified me. And I was like, yes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it did. For me, it just really was that growing edge. And I think no matter what we do, no matter what scares us, right? If it's calling to us, it's like, yeah, do it. There's something there.
There's something there. There's something on the other side of that fear that makes it all worth it.
Totally. So thank you so much for having me. And I was going to say, just as for your guests, if you guys want a free gift, if you ladies want a free gift, men or women who want this, who are listening, you can go to jointherevelation.com. And I've written a bill of rights to remind women that you have the right to shine, you have the right to be messy, you have the right to make mistakes. And I've written my own and I'm sharing it with you. But if you want to use it as a model to write your own, it's a great reminder to tack on your wall, because you have the right to grow and to be excited and to love your life and to reveal more.
Oh, I love that. And I will link that in the show notes for everybody so that they can have access to it. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you. I've loved this so much. And to everybody, more to be revealed, right?
Absolutely. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for listening, everyone. For more information, please head over to lightaftertrauma.com, or you can also follow us on social media. On Instagram, we are at lightaftertrauma, and on Twitter, it is at lightafterpod. And if you're on Facebook, please be sure to join our Facebook group. It is a private community where trauma survivors are able to connect and chat with one another. That Facebook group is called Light After Trauma, so just look us up on Facebook and be sure to join. Lastly, please head over to patreon.com/lightaftertrauma to support our show. We are asking for $5 a month, which is the equivalent to a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So please head on over again. That's patreon.com/lightaftertrauma. Thank you, and we appreciate your support.